Good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. I suppose I should start this with a trigger warning. We're going to be addressing topics of self-harm, self-termination, self-destruction. We're not allowed to say the S word on YouTube because of their regulations, but unaliving yourself is basically what we're talking about today. I realize, unfortunately, this is a massive problem, and some people are very triggered by it. So rather than draw anybody in, I'm giving you the opportunity. No hard feelings if you don't want to hear about this. And if you're feeling upset or hurting or anything like that, seek help now. There's hotlines available for you depending on your country. It's a Google search away, really. But with that being said, let's get into this topic. It's kind of been an enlivening week on this channel. Didn't start that way, but I kept saying I was going to make this episode, and it just got to the point where I'm like, I gotta make it. So let's talk about the final step in people's lives that they decide for themselves. Self-termination. I'm kind of using that because I kind of like the Terminator 2 reference. This unit cannot self-terminate. Since I can't use a real world word, that's the one I'm going to use. This is a subject that's very hotly debated. It's linked to depression, it's linked to anxiety, it's linked to a whole bunch of things. And they're still trying to substantiate who's high risk and who's not high risk. The truth is everybody's medium risk. The Joker said it takes one bad day to convert somebody normal into somebody like him. And that's kind of true for self-harm as well. It's not quite that simple. That's just a catchphrase. It takes one bad day. And it's a good catchphrase. It sums it all up and explains why some people go from having it all to throwing themselves off a building or some other violent means to dispatch themselves. The fact is, predicting it is not so easy. So many people say, oh, I was talking to them, they were fine, they were happy, and everything was good, and they're gone. A lot of people survive the self-harm attempt. And this is the dirty truth. No matter what you can think of, humans have survived it. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The human body is a miraculous machine. So, let's look into this miraculous machine. How would you like to induce your self-termination? Well, let's say you have a bit of a flair for the dramatic, and you procure yourself a weapon that converts chemical energy, propelling a lead slug forward at rapid rates. Sometimes called a pew pew, because there's another word we're not allowed to use. Hate to tell you this, but unless you're packing military grade firepower, it's very hard to execute that particular method of self-termination. The pew pew. Ballistics is a really weird thing. You see it done on Mythbusters, and they've shown the trajectory of the projectile doing some crazy things. Well, your skull's a crazy thing. Some parts are hard, some parts are soft. There are recorded cases where the projectile physically warped around the skull itself and came out the other side, doing zero physical damage. There's a recorded case where a guy got a screw head, like an industrial screw head, accidentally impaled inside of his brain. Now, it did make physical changes, and I have no doubt it was not fun whatsoever to deal with. But you know what? People survive that. So now you're not just dealing with the psychologists and all the people that are going to want to look you over to make sure you're safe to go into society. You have a potential major disability afterwards. You just made your life worse. No matter how bad it was, it's now worse. There's the old down the tracks, never across it. Can I say that? That involves a kitchen utensil and your wrist. All these euphemisms. This is the frustrating part about talking about this. The problem is people see their veins and they think that's how deep you need to cut. No, no, no. You need to go in there. That's some serious pain tolerance. Most people start and then they decide to switch to something else because it's not a fast process. If you're some sort of criminal gangster, you might want to give somebody a Cuban necktie where he slashed the throat. Again, people underestimate how much pain tolerance you need to do this to yourself. And then you're just sitting there bleeding on yourself and either waiting for that to take its toll eventually or trying to clean it up and needing medical help. There's jumping into traffic. People survive traffic accidents every day. That's one thing the hospitals are excellent at treating. Any sort of bodily harm, they get a hold of you, you might not come out exactly the same. Your legs, your arms, stuff like that might be gone, they might be disabled, but hospitals are just excellent at figuring that out. Jumping off a high place, humans have survived some crazy falls, including people that have ejected from military aircraft and just floated down without a parachute and made it. What else you got? Like, most people don't have access to a nuclear reactor. Most people don't have access to military grade weaponry. So all the pills. Oh, I almost forgot pills. So you decide to take a whole lot of them. First of all, the LD50, that's lethal dose 50 of most pills, is calculated so it's very difficult for the person at home to do it yourself, shall we say. Your body simply won't take that much. It'll probably throw it out. And I know that the hospitals also have a chemical that they can put in you that neutralizes the effect of most of the pharmaceuticals that they give out. So once again, your body also throws stuff up. You want to mix stuff together, like let's put some alcohol, let's put some Tylenol and see what happens. Your body's going to throw it up. How do I know this? Well, I had a friend. Now, I don't know how serious he was about this, because he claimed to want to self-terminate, but he had been through all the options, and this was a conversation topic for a few years between us, until he eventually decided it was no longer a good idea. And he'd done all the research, and he said there's no good way to do it. So even if you made your mind up and decided to remove yourself from the face of the earth, there's no real reliable way to do it. Hiring a hitman. Again, you got the problem with ballistics. And a lot of those people that you can get on the dark web are not exactly reliable. Otherwise, they'd have a steady contract with somebody. Again, there's no good way to do this. You basically, you have to ironically get lucky. For the worst time possible, you have to get lucky to have any effect. Let's get back to the psychology. What snaps inside of a person to make them even consider those options? Because, let's be honest, some of the time they work, most of the time they don't, but you have to be feeling pretty low to even start down the path of considering that as an option. Well, probably the thought's been there for a little bit. You might be isolated, you might be alone, you might think the people around you are not good. There's imposter syndrome, where you think the people around you are all suspicious of you and you don't have anybody close that you can talk to. Now, the only thing that I can excise as insight is that you feel that there's nobody there for you. Whether you have friends or not, you do not believe you do at that moment in time. And I'm emphasizing that for a very particular reason. Because whether it's true or not true, there's always somebody willing to listen to you. Again, there's helplines, there's online forums if you don't want to speak to anybody, there's chat groups, there's is IRC still open? There's IRC lines for it. I'm pretty sure on Twitter and Facebook there's people who are willing to chat with you. There's so many lines of help that are available today that weren't even available 10 years ago. But I know in the moment that you're thinking of self-termination, you're not in the mood to reach out for help because you've already decided there is no help for you. Whatever your case is, maybe it's chronic pain. Hey, chronic pain is no joke. And pain is purely personal. What I can withstand and what you can withstand are two different things. And there's no scientific way to measure it. That sometimes prompts people. That's where Dr. Kevorkian started off with, was he was trying to help those people self-terminate. And yeah, there are services to help you. Again, I don't want to evaluate their effectiveness because I'm not a medical doctor. What I do have is an open mind and a willingness to listen. You need somebody like that in your life. Even if it's the drunk idiot who just wants to sit there and drink some beers and just have you pour out your heart to them. They might not be truly listening, but they give you a chance to get it off your chest. You might know a friend who's moved away and you can still get a hold of them through Facebook, through X, through Instagram, through 10,000 things. Maybe you're suffering because of that isolation and the pain. All I can tell you is hold in there, because whatever you do will only make it worse. Your chances are to find support, and I don't care how badly off you are. If you're in a gang and you're addicted to all the drugs, and you're so frail you can barely walk across the room, if you can get to a phone, a modern phone, you can get help. There's, like I said, there's hotlines you can speak to. I understand. I have moods where I don't want to talk to anybody either. That's why this channel is good for me, because I have to speak regularly to get people to listen. Maybe you need a creative outlook or a creative outlet. That's something to establish later. If you need help now, you got to motivate yourself just enough to either check out some websites, dial the 1-800 number, or get a hold of a friend. Whether you feel you're worthy of it or deserving, you know what? That friend might have some hurtful things to say. But that pain can also come from their own situation. And it's hard to evaluate that, but it's better than anything you're planning to do to yourself. There's only one of you on this planet. There's only one of you that carries the gifts and the strengths that you have. And yes, you do have strengths. I know it. And so do you. You just don't want to admit it. There's so many things that you can still do. Even like I said, you're disabled, you've got gangs that are ready to off you. You need methamphetamine and cocaine and crocodile and whatever other crap they sell on the streets these days. Every day you're so behind in your debt and stuff like that, and nobody knows all this sort of stuff. You know what? It won't kill you to tell somebody. It might even save you. So, for those of you thinking of this, it's important to note your thought. It's important to note the situation that you're in, but you're obsessing over it. OCD. You've triggered a feedback loop in your mind. You need to get out of it. If you're a friend and you get this call, and hey, nobody expects this in life. You might think you're not doing any good, that you're just sitting there and listening to your friend pour their heart out, but you know what? You're doing something. And that's a gift that a lot of people can't say. We can beat this together. There's always going to be somebody who's at their edge. And psychologically, it's extreme depression, extreme anxiety, and not seeing any way out. There's always a way out. There's always hope. Now, how can I tell you this? Because I'm not only the narrator of the Silverlight Show, I'm also a survivor. And yes, that little bit can help you out. Don't go over the edge. It doesn't work out well for you. With that, we wish you to we hope you were informed by that episode of the Silverlight Show, because I can't say enjoyed. If you did, please share it with those who are in need, because sharing is caring, and there's a lot of people that need caring at the present time. If you haven't already, please subscribe, because we like subscribers. And click the notification icon so you can be notified every single time that we release a new episode. And we hope you have a fantastic day.